It began with a phone call that Ava never expected, a call that shattered the quiet life she had slowly rebuilt. On a crisp autumn evening, as she sat with a warm cup of tea in her softly lit kitchen, the sharp ring cut through the calm. The voice on the other end was cold, clipped, unfamiliar. "Ms. Harper? Detective Lawson speaking. There's been an incident involving your sister." The words didn't fully register. An incident? What kind? Ava's heart pounded as dread settled in. The Harper family, once close but now fractured, had endured more than their share of pain. Now, a darker shadow stretched over them. Her sister, Lila, was impossible to ignore. She had a laugh that could light up a room and a rebellious streak that left a lasting impression. At 28, Lila was balancing dreams and fears, working as a graphic designer while caring tenderly for their aging mother. But beneath her confident exterior, Lila hid deep wounds, a fear of being left behind and a loneliness she rarely shared. Growing up, Ava and Lila's relationship had been a complicated dance, love interlaced with rivalry. Their father had walked away early, leaving invisible scars. Their mother's strictness often drove them apart. Ava, the older by 3 years, wore responsibility like armor, protective yet burdened, while Lila's restless spirit sought escape in impulsive choices. That phone call changed everything. Lila was found unconscious in her apartment, the victim of a violent attack. Bruises spoke louder than words. The police suspected someone close, someone Lila trusted. Racing to the hospital, Ava's mind swirled with questions. Who could do such a thing? Why? Answers felt locked behind a wall of silence and fear. Lila's apartment was a reflection of her spirit, a chaotic splash of colors, scattered sketches, and photos pinned to the walls. But that night, it was eerily quiet, the air thick with spilled wine and something metallic, sharp and bitter. Ava's fingers trembled as she sifted through the wreckage, desperate for clues. Investigators soon uncovered a secret fracture in Lila's life, a hidden relationship with someone Ava barely knew. Marcus, a quiet and intense colleague, had a dark reputation for jealousy and simmering anger. Hospital visits between sisters were heavy with unspoken truths. Lila's swollen eyes revealed tales she couldn't say aloud. In moments of fleeting clarity, she spoke of betrayal, entrapment in a web woven from desperation and dread. Detective Lawson uncovered a tangled knot of jealousy, grudges, and a confrontation gone too far. But the strangest twist was yet to come. One morning, a letter appeared by Lila's bedside. No signature, no explanation, just a trembling line. "Trust no one. The truth is darker than you know." Ava's world spun. Who sent this? Marcus? Someone else? The chilling uncertainty gnawed at her. Further digging revealed odd details. Lila's best friend, Nora, shared secrets of late-night calls, growing paranoia, and a mysterious figure Lila feared was watching. She mentioned a phone app Lila installed weeks earlier, tracking her every step, tightening a digital noose. Then, beneath loose floorboards in Lila's apartment, a diary surfaced, raw pages of fear, despair, and hope. The entries fluctuated wildly between clarity and frantic scribbles. One haunting note read, "He says he loves me, but his love feels like a cage. I'm disappearing, piece by piece." The weight of those words crushed Ava. This wasn't just assault. It was a woman suffocating in twisted love. Whispers swept through the community, rumors of betrayal, secrets clawing their way out of graves. Ava found herself dragged into a story darker than she imagined, where every smile hid secrets and every friendship bore shadows. One night, alone in Lila's emptied apartment, a soft knock shattered the silence. No one should be there. At the door, a small package awaited, a music box, delicate and antique. Winding it played a haunting lullaby that echoed in the still air. Beneath it, a folded photo. Lila smiling brightly beside a man Ava didn't recognize. No note. No clues. Weeks spiraled deeper into chaos. Marcus vanished without a trace, leaving behind a phone packed with cryptic messages and photographs revealing a darker nature. Ava learned Lila had spoken to a therapist about threats she never voiced aloud, silenced by fear. Most disturbing was the apartment security footage, showing a figure clad in Lila's clothes moving stiffly, puppet-like. The tape ended with a single word scrawled in red. Lies. Ava's reality fractured. Was Marcus behind it? Or was someone else pulling the strings? The tension reached a breaking point when a second attack nearly ended Lila's life. This time, lucid and desperate, she whispered, "It's not him. It's someone closer. Someone who knows." Ava's hunt for truth became obsession, peeling back layers of lies that shattered the fragile masks of trust. In shadowed corners of the city, old friends turned suspect, family grew distant, and Ava realized the greatest threat came not from strangers, but from the webs woven by those closest to her. Then came the cliffhanger no one expected. One rainy evening, Ava returned home to find her front door ajar. Inside, a note lay on the floor, penned in the same shaky handwriting. "The truth is waiting. Are you ready to face it?" Lights flickered. In the hallway mirror, Ava glimpsed, not her own reflection, but a shadowed figure standing just behind her. The rain had not stopped since that night. The same night, Ava found the door to her apartment left wide open, the note on the floor a stark warning. "The truth is waiting. Are you ready to face it?" Each drop outside seemed to echo the uncertainty flooding her mind, a relentless rhythm underscoring the chaos unraveling around her. She stood frozen in the dim hallway, the flickering light casting distorted shadows that danced like ghosts on peeling wallpaper. The reflection in the mirror, was it real? Or some trick of the shadows? A figure loomed behind her, its presence undeniable yet impossible to grasp. Heart hammering, breath shallow, Ava spun around. The space was empty, yet the air thrummed with a cold, unseen menace. Her phone buzzed, jolting her from the paralyzing fear. It was a message from an unknown number. "You're closer than you think. They're watching." Ava's fingers trembled as she stared at the screen. Who were they? And what exactly was she close to uncovering? The days that followed plunged Ava into a world she never wanted to enter. Sleep became a rare luxury, stolen between fits of restless nightmares and relentless, grinding anxiety. Each morning, she awoke with a hollow ache, the weight of questions pressing down like a physical force. Desperate for answers, Ava decided to dive deeper into Lila's life than ever before. She started with the fragments left behind, Lila's scattered belongings, the diary found under the floorboards, and the unsettling security footage that had haunted her nights. The footage, in particular, refused to let go of her mind. The figure mimicking Lila's movements was both unsettling and confusing, a distorted echo of her sister, stiff and unnatural, like a marionette trapped in someone else's strings. The video's abrupt ending, with the chilling word "lies" painted on the wall, spoke of secrets far darker than any she had imagined. Ava reached out to Nora again, hoping for more insight. When they met in a quiet cafe, Nora's usual warmth was replaced by a taut, haunted look. "There's more," Nora whispered, glancing nervously over her shoulder. Lila was terrified, not just of Marcus, but of someone else. Someone she never named. Ava leaned in, heart pounding. "Who?" Nora swallowed hard. She thought she was being followed, like someone knew everything about her, even the things she never told anyone. She pulled out her phone and showed Ava a series of messages Lila had sent in the weeks before the attack. They were fragmented, cryptic, a mix of paranoia and desperate pleas. "They're everywhere. I can't trust anyone. Help me before it's too late." The realization hit Ava with crushing force. This was no random assault. Lila had been trapped in something far more sinister, a web of surveillance, manipulation, and fear that crept closer with every day. Determined to break the silence, Ava sought help from Detective Lawson. Their meetings were terse but productive, filled with guarded hope and mounting frustration. Lawson shared what the police had uncovered so far. Marcus had disappeared without a trace, his phone a digital maze of threatening messages and disturbing images. But every lead seemed to circle back to the same chilling conclusion. Someone else was orchestrating this darkness, someone who knew the Harper family's deepest secrets. One cold evening, Ava returned to Lila's apartment, now cleaned but still heavy with the ghost of trauma. She carefully examined the hidden diary once more, her eyes catching a passage she'd missed before. "If I disappear, no, it's not because I wanted to. They're everywhere, watching, waiting. I can feel their eyes on me, even in my dreams." The words echoed in her mind, each syllable a weight pressing down on her resolve. Her search led her to a surprising discovery, a series of encrypted files hidden in Lila's computer, protected behind multiple passwords. Ava spent hours, sometimes days, trying to crack them, piecing together fragments of messages and photos. The files contained unsettling evidence, photos of unknown faces lurking outside Lila's apartment, recordings of late-night phone calls, and chilling notes hinting at blackmail and betrayal. The more Ava uncovered, the clearer it became. Lila had been fighting a shadowy enemy who was closer than anyone suspected. One night, a breakthrough came from the unlikeliest of sources. An old family friend named Gabriel, who had once been close to the Harpers but had drifted away after a bitter falling out. Gabriel agreed to meet Ava in a secluded park, away from prying eyes and buzzing phones. He arrived late, his face weathered and haunted. "There are things about your family you don't know," Gabriel warned, voice low and urgent. "Secrets that go back decades, and someone wants to make sure they stay buried." He spoke of a betrayal so deep it had fractured the family beyond repair, of lies exchanged in whispered conversations and debts paid in silence. He hinted at a dangerous figure, someone within their own circle, willing to destroy anything and anyone who threatened to expose the truth. As the pieces fell into place, Ava felt herself slipping into a world where trust was a fragile illusion. The nights grew colder, shadows deeper. Strange occurrences plagued her, phones ringing with silence, footsteps echoing just beyond her door, and a growing sense that she was never truly alone. One evening, as a storm raged outside, Ava found herself staring into the dark hallway of her apartment. The lights flickered violently before plunging her into darkness. In that moment, a whisper sliced through the silence, barely audible yet chilling. "You shouldn't have come this far." A sudden movement caught her eye, a silhouette retreating into the shadows. Her heart raced. Was it the same figure from the mirror, or something even more sinister? The following morning brought a discovery that shook Ava to her core. On her doorstep lay a small box, wrapped in black velvet, sealed with a crimson ribbon. Inside was a key, old, ornate, and heavy with the weight of history. Attached was a note, written in the same shaky hand that had haunted her before. "This opens the door to what you fear most. Be careful what you seek." The message was clear. The next step in Ava's journey would lead her into the heart of darkness itself. With trembling hands, Ava clutched the key, her mind torn between fear and determination. What door awaited her? What truths lay hidden behind it? As thunder rumbled overhead and rain hammered the windows, Ava knew one thing: there was no turning back. The story was far from over. In fact, it was only just beginning. The key in Ava's palm was cold and unforgiving, like a weight pressing down on her very soul. She turned it slowly, fingers trembling, the crimson ribbon from the note still wrapped loosely around her wrist like a shackle. Outside, the storm had abated but left the world slick and washed in cold silence, an eerie calm that promised no peace. The key was old, heavy with secrets. It was unlike anything Ava had ever seen, a relic from another time, adorned with intricate engravings that hinted at stories far beyond her understanding. It promised answers, yes, but it also whispered danger, a warning carved into cold metal. Her breath caught as she stared at the small door in the basement of her childhood home, a door she had always avoided, tucked away behind a stack of forgotten boxes and years of dust. It was the only lock that matched the key perfectly. The basement was suffused with stale air and shadow, the faint scent of mold mingling with the ghosts of memories long buried. As she descended the creaking wooden steps, her footsteps echoed, swallowed by the stillness. The door stood before her like a silent sentinel, guarding the past with a heavy heart. With a trembling hand, Ava inserted the key into the lock. The mechanism groaned, resisting at first before turning with a slow, deliberate click. The door creaked open, revealing a small, dimly lit room. Inside were remnants of a world Ava never knew existed. Faded photographs pinned to corkboards, stacks of yellowed letters, and a dusty trunk that seemed to pulse with hidden weight. Ava's fingers brushed over the photographs, images of family gatherings distorted by time, but with faces blurred or scratched out. Names and dates were scrawled in hurried handwriting, alongside symbols she didn't recognize. There was an urgency, a desperation, etched into every page and photograph. Among the papers, she discovered a journal, its leather cover cracked but sturdy. It belonged to someone she never expected, her mother, Ava Harper. The journal was a window into a world of secrets and regrets. Evelyn's words were raw and unfiltered, revealing a woman trapped in a web of lies and impossible choices. She spoke of a past littered with betrayal, of a forbidden relationship that threatened to unravel everything the family had built. One passage struck Ava to her core. "I never wanted to hurt them, but some sins are born before we even know their names. If the truth ever surfaces, it will drown us all." The more Ava read, the more the fragile narrative she had clung to shattered. Her mother was not the cold, distant woman she remembered, but a desperate soul battling demons of her own making. Suddenly, the soft creak of footsteps made Ava freeze. She wasn't alone. The air thickened as a shadow fell across the doorway. Ava spun, heart pounding. Standing there was Gabriel, the family friend who had warned her before. His face was grave, his eyes haunted by knowledge too heavy to bear. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly. "Some doors are meant to stay closed." Ava's voice trembled. "I need to know. I can't run anymore." Gabriel sighed, stepping into the dim light. "Then listen carefully. What you're about to discover isn't just about your family. It's about a legacy of silence that has poisoned everything." Gabriel led Ava through the layers of the past, revealing a conspiracy of protection and destruction. Evelyn's journal had only scratched the surface. He spoke of a man named Victor Grayson, a shadowy figure with ties to the family, whose influence reached deep into the town's heart. Victor was more than a name whispered in fear. He was a puppeteer pulling strings from the shadows, ensuring secrets stayed buried at any cost. "He's the reason Marcus vanished," Gabriel said grimly, "and why Lila's attackers moved with such impunity." Ava felt the walls closing in. The story was bigger than jealousy or betrayal. It was about power, manipulation, and a darkness that had seeped into every corner of her life. Days bled into nights as Ava and Gabriel pieced together evidence. They uncovered hidden accounts, coded letters, and strange transactions that led to a locked storage facility on the outskirts of town. Together, they planned to break in. The night was cold and unforgiving. The facility loomed in the distance, a cavernous building cloaked in silence and guarded by flickering lights. Their hearts beat loud in the darkness as they slipped inside. Rows of shelves stretched endlessly, filled with crates, boxes, and secrets. Ava's flashlight beam landed on a metal cabinet labeled "Confidential." Gabriel's hand shook as he pulled it open, revealing files that chilled Ava to the bone. Dossiers on her family, medical records, surveillance photos, and evidence of experiments no one was meant to know. Among the files was a set of photographs, images of Lila, but not the Lila Ava knew. These photos showed her sister in moments of fear and pain, restrained and vulnerable, watched by cold, unfeeling eyes. The realization hit Ava like a tidal wave. Lila had been a prisoner in her own life, subjected to horrors designed to break her spirit. The final file was a recording. Ava pressed play. A distorted voice filled the dark room, a woman's voice, trembling with fear but resolute. It was Lila, speaking of pain, betrayal, and a promise to expose the truth. "If you hear this, I'm counting on you. Don't let them win." Suddenly, footsteps thundered outside the facility. "We have company," Gabriel whispered, eyes wide with panic. They hid in the shadows, breath held tight. The door burst open. A figure stepped inside, a man wearing a hood, face obscured by shadow. "You shouldn't have come here," the voice growled, cold and final. Ava's heart hammered as the man's gaze swept the room. Before she could react, the lights flickered and went out. Darkness swallowed them whole. Ava's lungs burned as she stumbled through the pitch-black warehouse, her heart hammering like a frantic drum. The hooded figure's voice still echoed in her ears, cold, threatening, final. The sudden blackout had thrown everything into chaos, swallowing sight and sound, leaving only the frantic thump of her own breath and the cold slap of panic. Gabriel was close behind her, his hand gripping hers tightly. "We have to move," he whispered urgently. "Find the stairs." Every step felt weighted by fear and determination. They navigated narrow corridors, the beam of Ava's flashlight barely piercing the darkness. Somewhere in the distance, muffled voices approached, sharp and urgent, fracturing the suffocating silence. Suddenly, the lights flickered back on. The warehouse, vast and grim, was flooded with harsh white light. But the relief was short-lived. Before them stood a group of men, law enforcement, Gabriel confirmed, surrounding the exit. The hooded man was gone. In the days that followed, Ava became both witness and warrior, thrust into a whirlwind of police interviews, court dates, and endless documents. The man behind the mask, Victor Grayson, was finally in custody. His reputation as a powerful manipulator had kept the town in fearful silence for years, but now the walls were closing in. Victor was unlike anyone Ava had ever faced. Calm, composed, his steely eyes revealing a mind accustomed to control. He had woven his web of fear and deception so tightly that even the most careful had been ensnared. The evidence against him was overwhelming. Hidden surveillance, financial records showing bribes and intimidation, and chilling testimonies from victims, including Lila herself. But what broke the case open was the confession of Marcus, the jealous colleague who had disappeared months earlier, now cooperating with authorities. Marcus revealed that Victor had orchestrated every move, from the surveillance on Lila to the violent attacks designed to silence her. His motive was pure preservation, protecting secrets that could ruin him and those he had corrupted. The courtroom was packed on the first day of the trial. Every seat was taken, the air thick with anticipation. Ava sat among the crowd, clutching a folded photograph of Lila, a reminder of everything lost and fought for. The prosecution laid bare the horrific truth with clinical precision. They painted a portrait of a man who used fear like a weapon, a predator cloaked in the guise of respectability. Witnesses recounted harrowing encounters, the emotional and physical toll Victor's reign had taken on the Harper family and the community. Victor's defense was cold and calculated, attempting to paint himself as a victim of circumstance and accusation. But his composure cracked when Ava took the stand. Her testimony was raw and honest. She spoke of love and fear, of the sister she fought to protect, and the nightmare they had endured. Her voice, steady but laden with emotion, echoed through the courtroom, piercing the walls of denial and silence. When Ava described the night Victor's threats became real, the way Lila's eyes had reflected terror, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. As the trial unfolded, buried truths emerged. Victor's ties to local officials, a network of silence and corruption, and the lengths to which he would go to bury the past. One piece of evidence struck the jury harder than any testimony: the recording from Lila, her voice trembling but defiant, pleading for justice. "I'm counting on you," she had said. After weeks of tense deliberation, the jury returned with a verdict: guilty on all counts. Victor Grayson was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The judge's words were firm and resolute, a condemnation not just of a man, but of a system that had allowed such darkness to thrive. As the courtroom emptied, Ava felt a strange mixture of relief and sorrow. Justice had been served, but the wounds, deep and lasting, would take far longer to heal. In the months that followed, Ava and Gabriel worked tirelessly to rebuild what had been broken. The Harper family home, once a place of secrets and pain, was transformed into a community center dedicated to victims of abuse and those seeking hope. Ava founded a support network, a beacon for those trapped in silence, offering strength and solidarity. She often visited Lila's grave, a quiet place framed by wildflowers and sunlight. She spoke softly to the sister she had lost, promising to carry her story forward, turning pain into purpose. One evening, sitting in the peaceful garden of the community center, Ava allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. The journey had been brutal, marked by betrayal, fear, and loss. But it had also revealed resilience, courage, and the unbreakable bonds of family. The darkness had come close, threatening to consume everything. But in the end, light had found a way through. Ava looked to the sky, stars shimmering like distant promises. Her story was over, but the fight for truth, justice, and healing was just beginning.